So, man, we got a lot of things on the docket today. This is a pretty good week for sports. A couple of things went on or something. So I just want to start talking about, this boxing stuff we got going on. I mean, I was watching the news and I seen Canelo left Golden Boy and dzan this week or something. How y'all think that's going to turn out for him? What do you think his next move is with that?
I think it kind of sort of positions him to maybe go down the Mayweather route in terms of being able to negotiate his own deals. Instead of signing like a major contract with another promoter, he may just decide to do like a fight by fight basis. So I think it's a good look for him. What do you think, Theo?
From a boxing fan, I would say, yeah, it's good. He'd be his own man, his own boss, have more competitive fights. He's been wanting more competitive fights for a long time now. So I guess from this point forward, we can have more competitive fights, like I guess Caleb Plant, maybe Errol Spence in the future, stuff like that. So as far as fight fans concerned, we all should be happy, man.
I mean, I think the whole thing about this is kind of crazy. It kind of tells you how like the economy and stuff is going, because from what they said, the reason that he left is because they weren't even able to get the fees for him. Like I heard something where dzan was offering him part cash and part stocks and all types of stuff like that. So I can understand. I mean, I think he has some kind of thing where he was supposed to make between 30 and 40 million a fight or something like that.
Yeah, because I want to say his contract was worth like he had like a 11-year deal or something, or 11 fight deal, $100 million, right?
Right.
So, see,
200+ mil.
These guys to make payments when he was supposed to be on the $300+ million deal is it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you could blame COVID for this pandemic for, I guess, the money dwindling down as well. One thing for sure, he has his favorite is the fan base. He has the fan base from casual fan to hardcore fan. So he has that on his side. So hopefully in the future, he gets his money right wherever he wants. He gets his money right and have better, bigger fights.
And I think both of you guys are right. Like you talk about the better and bigger fights, and Kareem mentioned about the going the Mayweather route. I mean, some of these other things like Top Rank and Matchroom, and Al Hyman's got that, I guess, that PBC or Premier Boxing or something. I mean, they got different things to offer, but some of them work with dzan. I mean, Top Rank's not bad. They were ESPN, but I mean, for him to get the money, the best way to go is to go solo. The thing I wouldn't mind seeing though is if he was with Al Heyman, it would make it easier to make fights with guys like the guy he's trying to fight, Caleb Plant, or you mean the super fight down the road. I wouldn't mind seeing a fight like Jamal Charlo, but he's under that Al Heyman too.
Yeah, I mean, Al Heyman has everybody. Basically, he has all the welterweights and half the middleweight. So this is why a lot of these fights haven't even progressed yet, or just started to progress. So like I guess the Garcia fight with Spence coming up. That fight should happen a while ago.
You're right.
But since Al Heyman has all these fighters, man, he takes his time. With guys with mid-tier fighters and guys that's waiting their time to get big fights. So about Canelo, man, do the Floyd route, man. Avoid Al Heyman, man, and be your own boss. He had everything in his favor. He had a big name. He's well known, fan base. Go that route.
Yeah.
The only, I guess, somewhat drawback or concern with going the solo route is like you don't lock into a longer term deal, right? Just like any other sport, it's easier to lock into a longer term deal in case something happens. He goes out in his next fight as a solo act, gets knocked out or something crazy or injured for that matter, then he may not get those bigger fights.
Right.
Versus getting that guaranteed money on a longer term deal. That's the only risk. He's basically betting on himself if he goes that route, which is not a bad thing. Because he stands to make more if he could sustain and continue to win.
Makes sense. Everybody's doing the bet myself right now, so I guess he's next.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it, so I guess he's next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we right now we talking about guys betting on themselves. Let's switch gears to a guy that's making all types of excuses. So we got Deontay Wilder again running around talking about every reason under the sun why he lost the fight. I mean, one of the crazy things. Remember the pre-fight outfit weighed too much, so it warmed down. He was tired. I mean, what do you think all this crazy stuff that Wilder's talking about?
I mean, when he first said the suit thing, I was kind of riding with him a little bit, not so much as an excuse, but I could see how that obviously would impact, your legs. Because I think they said the suit weighed about 40 pounds or something crazy, which is crazy to begin with if you think about it. Why would his corner and even him allow him to come out with a 40-pound, But
40 pounds.
the latest excuse, I think he's saying like his water was spiked or something like that. I think now he's just kind of grasping at straws, I think he just needs to accept the loss.
Agree.
I think he just needs to accept the loss and take it for what it is and train and get better,
Right. I agree with I could see the disadvantage of having a 50-pound outfit on. It makes no sense. It's not WWE. I understand that. So I could see that. But outside of that, as far as him blaming Mark Breland, I'm not hearing that. Or the tampered water, I'm not hearing that. Or Fury's gloves was padded or unpadded. I'm not going through that, man. Fury's just a better boxer, period. That's all it is, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know how they say styles make fights, and Fury might have his number or something. I mean, go back to the drawing board, train, maybe switch your style up or something, but you got to stop making these excuses because I think it's too much right now. I mean, yeah.
I think a big part of it with him is the intimidation thing too, and I don't think Fury was scared. He's was going along like the lines of the Mike Tyson thing, where he comes out, tries to intimidate you, but I don't think Fury went for any of that. He just went out there, like you said, and just outboxed him and basically set him up for the win. Fury, that is.
Right. I think he took Fury for granted. Fury was much better than he thought he was entering the ring. Fury got some skill sets, man. He may not look like it though, but he can move. He got footwork. He sticks to the jab. He boxes. He throws feints. So he could box. And plus, with Wilder, I know we're really impressed with him when he fought Luis Ortiz twice. Because you look at both fights, Ortiz won every round until it took both knockouts. So Wilder did show some vulnerability entering the Fury fight for sure. If they fight again, I like Fury again.
Yeah, I think Fury would beat him again.
Yes, so do I.
There's nothing that Wilder showed me in either one of the fights that would make me think otherwise, Yeah,
he just comes forward. He can't fight backwards.
No.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's go from the unimpressive Wilder to the impressive Davis. Did you get a chance to see that knockout that Davis put on Santa Cruz last? I mean, that uppercut that he got him with that, I mean, it was perfectly timed and pretty much devastating. Whatever. I mean, before that uppercut, I kind of had, the first couple of rounds, it looked like Santa Cruz might have won, but Davis was kind of the last couple on him. But with that uppercut, that was impressive.
Yeah, with Davis, I never questioned the guy's ability, his skill. The guy has a ton of skill. I always question, if anything, his out of the ring antics. If he could keep his head on straight, that is definitely one of the next. Well, he's already emerging, but he's a superstar in the sport. If he can keep his head on focus, and I think this last fight just proved it even more.
Right. Santa Cruz is a good name, I guess, as you progress into the pound for pound list. Into the sixth round, I had a 3-2 Santa Cruz. I had Cruz winning rounds 1, 2, and 5. I gave him 5 the edge, but Davis won 3 and 4. But I watched that fight again. Dave was trying to do a left hook all night long. He was either getting blocked or he was just missing. And I finally caught him at the right time. He flushed and knocked him out cold. But a good fight though. But David gets his too much for me right now.
I gotta agree with you. He definitely does. I mean, which brings up like there's some interesting guys for him to fight. All of those guys could pretty much hurt him. Like like Chiamafo Lopez, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia. I mean, I'd like to see him fight those levels of guys, but I don't think you could necessarily get in there and take the type of hits, fighting those guys.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You keep taking those hits. It's entertaining for the fans that he's standing in there trading blows, but long term, it's not in his best interest.
Right. Santa Cruz was definitely hitting him, not at will though, but at a good percentage, I would say that. So if he goes in with, I guess I should say even Lomachenko, he's still dangerous out there, even though he had 2 losses though. He can fight Loma and Tio and somebody else, man, it might be a different outcome.
Yeah. Listen, man, Loma's going to definitely compete. Been going to put the pressure on him, so
Right.
that would be interesting to see.
Yeah, that'd be a good fight.
Man, I think so too.
So, from what I see, they're talking about Terrence Crawford's next fight might be against Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence. How do you guys feel about those 2 possible opponents?
I think you should go for the biggest purse, to be honest with you. Because in boxing, there's necessarily no longevity. I guess you could say that just for almost every sport, but especially boxing. So if I was him, I'd take the biggest purse. As a fan, I want to see him fight Crawford because I think Pacquiao is just a name now. He stands like a fighter's chance, right, with throwing these wild punches, stuff like that. Guy is strong, but I think I would like to see him take the Spence fight as a fan. But if I'm him, I'm taking the biggest purse.
I wouldn't mind seeing either fight. I would enjoy either fight. But at this point in time in his careers, who would against offer the bigger purse, Pacquiao or Spence? Because right now Spence could arguably is a bigger name right now. You could say, so never know. Maybe Spence might have a bigger bag more than Manny. Manny's an older fighter right now. He's still in the game, still in a fight. So, but as Kay said, man, if I'm him, he keep talking about Spence. So know what? Fight Spence, man. You on YouTube all day, you on Twitter, calling this man's name out all day long for 2, 3, 4 years. You want Spence, so leave Pacquiao alone, man. Go get Spence, man.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you guys to take Spence. The only actual good thing about the Pacquiao fight is that he could probably make that fight easier than he'll make the Spence fight, because when you get 2 guys at that level in there, like you said, Spence might be the bigger fighter of the 2 right now, but when you start talking about that bag and splitting the bag and how that's gonna go, that's when it starts getting complicated. And you got Spencer's with Mayweather, and you got Crawford with Top Rank, so you know how that works out most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Well said. I agree.
I would love to see that Spence fight. So now we're gonna move on to I don't even know what to call this, man. Mike Tyson and Roy Jones exhibition boxing match or whatever this is. What do you guys think this is going to be? Because some people, the guy that's promoting it now is not even calling it a fight. He's trying to say it's a boxing exhibition or something, or a skills event. I don't know what to call it.
I'm more excited. I think Nate Robinson is on the undercard. I'm more excited about the undercard. And see, Tyson and Roy Jones. If this was maybe 15, 20 years ago, I would have been excited. The only thing I would say that is a positive about it is I think the money's going to charity. So it's not like the guys are necessarily doing it for their own personal gain, their own pockets. I think I want to say the money's going to charity. But outside of that, I don't see any real entertainment in it. I'll probably watch it just for the laughs and giggles out of it. I think Tyson will probably, if he doesn't knock him out, he'll probably burn himself out after the first couple of rounds, 2 or 3 rounds. Same thing with Roy Jones. I think Roy Jones will probably have a little more stamina than Tyson, but he's proven in real fights that he doesn't have too much of a chin. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm not excited about it. What do you think, Theo?
I'm excited because I'm not a Roy Jones fan. So I'm hoping he gets knocked out. And let's be clear. Iron Mike does not consider this fight to be a charity event at all. You don't act like it. You don't talk like it. So hopefully he gets in that ring. He can knock off Roy Jones' head off for me personally. I'd be happy to see that.
I mean,
Would that be? Well, you know what? The last few fights Roy Jones had, man, he doesn't move no more, man.
no.
Doesn't move at all.
I
Right
think
now,
you're right.
right now, you can arguably say Mike Tyson right now is in better shape than him right now.
Well, like you said, Mike is going to be Mike. So, you said, I don't see Mike taking anything as an exhibition. Mike sees a fight as a fight. Plus, too, it's kind of like, I don't think it's going to be more than 3 rounds or something like that anyway. So, Mike should be able to put in some work in 3 rounds. At one point, I even heard something crazy, like they was talking about headgear. I'm glad that's not the case.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I thought I heard the rumor that they were going to be wearing headgear. That would be definitely in Roy Jones's favor, you know.
Yeah. I mean that in a big ring, I would suggest Roy try to get a real big ring. If not, if it's like an average size ring, Roy gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, I agree.
The funny thing is that they got a pretty good date for when fights usually happen too. For them to get like a fight on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, it's a fairly good boxing date too. So I was surprised. I gotta check. It's got to be something else coming on. I heard they want like $50 for this fight too.
Wow.
So
I'm not going that route. I ain't going that route.
Yeah, hearing that makes me think maybe all of this money isn't going to charity.
Right.
You know, they're going to send $50 per pay-per-view or whatever it is, all of that money over to charity. I hope so, but hearing that, I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what Roy's finances. Mike looked like he kind of getting a little more stable. I don't know what Roy's finances are like, so he might be getting some money off of this.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah. So let's move on to baseball, man. You see this? I mean, I love baseball. Listen, I'm a Yankees fan, but the Mets, I think they got a good deal with Steve Cohen's buying a team this week or something. What do you guys think of that one?
Yeah, I think it's exciting because every time you get a new owner coming in there, that new owner is obviously investing a ton of money, so they want to win. You know, so Cohen is coming in, he's spending a lot of money. He's probably, I would imagine, going to make some changes right away, and he's going to be looking to win. So for an organization that's been struggling, and I'm a Yankees fan, but to see an organization that's been struggling for a while, get a new owner who's willing to continue to spend, I'm excited. I think it's a good move for them.
Yeah, Cohen ain't playing no games. He already made a few firings in management already. Like he fired the GM and a couple other guys up there for management concern. For what I know, he's a guy who wants to spend money. He's trying to win right now. So if you're a Met fan, that should sound good to your ears right now.
Yeah. And I think it was time for the Wilpons to move on. I think for some reason, remember the Bernie Madoff scandal? They was all wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
That scandal kind of hit them pretty hard. After that, the only player I remember them signing was Cespedes, and that didn't work out too well.
Yeah, lazy man.
Yeah, everybody else, they started letting people go and trying to pick up people like short term, like Todd Frazier and these type of guys that never panned out. So the new guy seems like he got his head screwed on a little better. So, but now that we got the Mets with a new owner and we got the Yankees, we have free agency opening up. So who do we think that these guys should go after?
I think they need more pitching. I think the Yankees' MO for the last few years has been just trying to hit as many home runs as possible and win that way. So I think they need more pitching. They obviously spent a ton of money last year on Cole, you know, but I still think they need more pitching, more starting pitching, I should say. Their relievers are pretty good. I'd like to see them retain LeMatheiu because he's a guy who's not necessarily – he can hit home runs, but he's a guy who's not necessarily looking to go out there and slap a ton of home runs every at-bat. So I think they got to get back to playing a little bit of small ball and just go for pitching, I think. And you look at the teams who are winning and who won recently, that seems to be the formula. Going out there, getting these big heavy hitters, it's exciting for the fans, but I don't know if that's necessarily the winning formula in today's major league.
Green, well said, man. I can't add much to what you just said on that, man. All I can say is that Yankee fans, they need to sign Trevor Bauer for the Reds. The pitcher Charlie Morton from the Rays, I think it is. He's a free agent too. So those two guys, Severino comes back. You got Garrett Cole, and the fifth starter should be a young kid from the farm. Because the Yankees always want to do the old school route or veteran. These young kids up here, call them up. Them guys, I'm saying, go through the rigorous of being a real pro, fit the minor leagues. Because Yankees have talent in the farm system. Start calling these kids up, man. Let them play and rock it out, man. So I can see them at least having one young kid being a starting pitcher. You know, first four, you veterans, savvy guys like Cole, Severino, go get Bauer, Morton from the Rays. Like David Garcia's name is, he's a very good pitcher. He showed promising things, So get him out there, man. Let him go. Let him get beat up. And have his ups and downs.
I mean, for me, looking at the Yankees, Domingo Germán's back, so we could count that as picking up something. He'll be back for the full season. I bring back LeMatheiu, probably bring back Tanaka. If they keep going with that 6-inning formula, you might look at the guy like the hard throwing guy from the Oakland A's, Hendricks or something. Mm-hmm. But I got something I really think would be the biggest free agent acquisition for them, and it's an in-house thing. You know what the Yankees need to do? They need to figure out how to get Miguel Andujar more time in the lineup. We have Miguel Andujar, a guy that hit 47 doubles, 27 home runs, and 97 RBIs, 300 hitter. We can't get him in the lineup. We complaining about hitting home runs when we took a guy that hit 47 doubles out of the lineup because he made a higher level of errors. But realistically, we never needed to bring in what's the guy's name from Miami? Never needed to bring in Stanton. We could have just made Andujar the DH, and we probably been just as good, if not better off, having him there. So I think the Yankees need to figure out how to get Andujar back in there. That'll be a surprise in-house free agent acquisition because we were saying we got Andujar. He's not getting any type of playing time, and I like Urshela for his defense, but Urshela's definitely not Miguel Andujar at the plate. We've seen that in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true.
And for the Mets, the Mets, you're gonna laugh. The Mets need to sign Realmuto, Springer, Bauer, trade for Lindor,
right?
Stroman. They just need an influx of talent on that roster. Marcelo Zuna's available. Get everybody that'll sign there that they could get, and get rid of some of these other guys. Like they got guys that they have that can play, but some of the overvaluing them and stuff. Like if you got a guy that you can't determine where he needs to play on the field and he's splitting time, anytime, like in any sport, if you got a guy that can split time with another guy and he's not an everyday guy, because if he was that great, you wouldn't have him splitting time with the other guy.
Right.
The Yankees have a couple of those pieces, those interchangeable guys, LeMatheiu, Urshela's, like you mentioned. So they got a few of those interchangeable guys. Sometimes that's good, but yeah, like you said, then you start to question their value in terms of being an everyday player.
So you got to figure with that, while we talking about free agency, I think we all kind of went with somewhat the keeping LeMatheiu, but what do we keep LeMatheiu at? Is LeMatheiu like 31 years old or in his 30s? I couldn't see giving him more than a 3 or 4 year deal, and I couldn't see nothing more than $80 million for 4. That would be the max. I can't see him getting no $100 million plus deal, possibly. At least not with the Yankees at this point.
No. Well, I'd rather have DJ than Luke Voigt. Voigt could go. I like Voigt, but I pick and choose. I'm picking DJ. He's a better hitter. He spreads the ball around the field a lot. He can play multiple positions. Unlike Andujar, because Andujar's problem is not bad as fielder. He can't field. He can't play third base. He can't play the outfield. And plus, during the pandemic, they didn't even have enough opportunities to give him to try another position. So he got stuck in a bind. So if Andujar could find a way to play the outfield better, maybe right now we're playing the fall league or play first base, which I doubt too. I was trying to play outfield on Andujar to get in the field. If not, though, he's gonna be trade bait because Ursula's too good defensively on third base. DJ's too nice to even try to move him anywhere. So if anything, I would keep DJ and move Voigt because I want Lindor, man. I like him a lot, man. Get rid of Torres at shortstop. But Torres back at second base, man. He cannot play shortstop at all.
I mean, I think that sounds good to me. I think that's I really would be surprised if LeMahieu left. Listen, he's supposedly really good in the clubhouse too, like a guy that keeps the team together. He's not afraid to speak his mind. I mean, I think they got guys that are like power hitters and bigger names, but I don't necessarily see Stanton as a leader in the clubhouse. And at this point, Judge is probably not. He may be a silencer, but I don't see Judge as a vocal leader like in the clubhouse either.
Mm-hmm.
Not at this point or something. So
you
gotta keep him. But I think with the Yankees with all these high payrolls and stuff that they have to think about as far as who they pay in the future, I don't see them letting them walk, but I couldn't see no $120, $130 million deal coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep him for that type of money, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to sign a Judge in the future. You got to sign Torres in the future too, and you still have Stanton's ridiculous contract. So it's going to be tight. You already gave Garrett Cole like $200 million. So it's like, come on, man. You pay so many guys so much millions and millions of dollars like this.
Yeah, it just comes down to that decision. I mean, it's sad, but you'd love to keep him, but they're definitely going to choose Judge and Torres over keeping him. But you're right. The best thing the Yankees could do, which would be the hardest thing to do, is to get Stanton off that roster, move and do hard to the DH, and keep LeMahieu. That would be the best case scenario. But I couldn't see the team taking Stanton unless even if the Yankees ate part of the money, it would have to be a substantial part for somebody.
Right.
Which is crazy because the best case scenario that you just outlined is what they could have done from the beginning, right? Before they even brought Stanton over.
Mm-hmm.
But I think back to what I was saying earlier in terms of the Yankees getting into this mindset of, you know, just all power. They went through this we want guys that hit 40, 50 home runs, which looks good. But when you get to playoff time and these guys aren't hitting the ball over the fence, then what? And that's when a guy like LeMahieu is more valuable. I think this past season, though, Stanton did actually perform pretty well in the playoffs. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he performed in the playoffs, but it's a huge cost, you know.
Right. So someone said I read that he played well because there was no crowd, so he didn't really feel the pressure during the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I find it to be a very interesting comment I read on the web a while ago.
You know what? That could be it. Because remember, he did well on the Marlins, and they had like notoriously low attendance.
Right.
They basically had no crowd over there.
Right. You know? Exactly. You see, come with us the first 2 years, we had a crowd. You know, he's up and down. You know, and after this pandemic, we playing through a pandemic. He balled out.
Yeah, that's true.
He balled out.
That's true. I mean, it's crazy you got to play and getting paid that much. That's got to rely on there being no fans to be successful.
It's New York, man. It's the jungle, boogie down Bronx, man. It's tough.
Yep.
But if the Yankees don't bring LeMahieu back, do you see like the Mets going after him? Because it seems like they love getting, like you mentioned, Frazier earlier, right? They love getting Yankee players once they leave. So I could see the Mets maybe pursuing him if he does leave.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I mean, that'll be a major improvement.
Curtis Granderson too, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. I can see the Mets doing that. I mean, that'll be a major improvement because if you look at that roster, I mean, I don't know if there's any leadership on that roster at all. I mean, it was nice to see Cano kind of turned his season around a little bit or something, and they say he's mentoring some guys. But and Dominic Smith, he seemed like he turned his career around a little bit, but he's still kind of a man without a position. They got him playing first or trying to play first, but he can't do that full time because they got the other guy that's the rookie of the year playing first. So they need guys that like could be full time starters, and LeMahieu plays multiple positions and stuff. They need talent on that roster. So I could definitely see them going after him.
Having him batting in front of Alonso sounds real good though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Sounds real
I could
good.
pay him for him too. You know,
Yeah, and they can afford to pay for him, so that'll definitely be interesting.
Right.
A couple of minutes ago, we were talking about like Stanton and the pandemic and stuff, and how it improved them with no crowd. Now let's talk about another thing: how the pandemic has affected the team in the NFL. We got the Raiders, who managed to lose a sixth-round draft pick for not properly wearing masks at events and masks in the stadium. I mean, to me, I mean, from what I understand, that they were actually fined twice before this happened. I guess, I don't know how good they're playing well, but it's kind of unexcusable to lose a draft pick for COVID violations.
yeah, I would agree. But at the same time, like given the pick that they lost, is it how much value is actually in it? I can see if it's like an escalating like violation thing in terms of, hey, we're gonna get you for a sixth rounder. Then if we have to suspend you again or whatever it is, we'll get you for a third rounder, or where it's escalating up. But I don't see them really. I don't think the impact is going to be that much losing that pick, unless you get lucky. You got a hell of a scouting team or something. And I don't see too much value in the pick. Like, I don't think losing that pick sends like shockwaves or anything to the other teams to say, hey, we need to straighten up, else we're going to lose one of these picks too. Maybe if it was a higher pick or something like that, maybe.
Kenya, did you say that they was fined twice before this?
Yeah, they got the coach. They got him twice alone. They got him like in game 1 or 2. And then Derek Carr and the Raiders players went to the tight end. Derek Waller had a charity event, had like 100 people, and they didn't have masks on. So I'm like, this is crazy. But I didn't know that the NFL's got some rules like set up for them where they can, like, if it's more than 10 people or 15 people, they got to have masks on. So
Right. I mean, these guys is reckless. That's what these guys are. And they should know that this is a business. These guys are trying to lose billions of dollars. These guys is playing football during the pandemic. You touching a guy on every play, whether you're involved or not. Okay, these guys ain't trying to lose money like this, man. So you guys should be more responsible, especially on, I guess, having charity events and be around the facility to wear masks, man. Come on now. And losing 6-round picks is nothing, man. It's nothing, man. How about a 4? How about a 4 and a 6?
Yeah, exactly. Then there's some more, you feel more.
Right. You already said they got fined twice. So obviously these guys is not taking it seriously enough. And I'm quite sure I have a few teammates who caught it already, overcame it already, and he's still not following procedures and violations. They're still violating the procedure. So I should say protocol. So should be more than a 6-round draft pick. These are 4 and 6.
The thing that's crazy about it is that they see all these other teams where games have to been changed schedules and teams have missed like all their players and players been out to do this. Like, I forgot what team it was, but somebody's whole starting offensive line was out or something. It might have been the Raiders that the offensive line, the whole starting offensive line was out because of COVID.
Right.
And you still doing stuff like this. I mean, it's just crazy.
And I think Tennessee has some huge outbreak too, right?
Yep.
Earlier in the season. But I think more than the 6th-round pick, I think, like you just said, Theo, you guys are going out there playing football, touching somebody on every play. So more than the picks and everything else, it's about being safe. So if I'm another team and I hear that guys are out there being reckless, it's like, come on.
Right. Because you can get it from an opponent. You can't. You don't have to be your teammate. You catch it from your opponent, Come on. Just being reckless and against stick to the protocol, man. So these guys got to be more responsible than this, man. Gotta be, man. Gotta be.
Yeah. You look at it, you would think with everything going on right now that people would be. But this is the people we're dealing with. And moving on to a better note. Right now, we're seeing some different things going on in the league where some people are really balling. Who do you guys have like as your mid-season MVP so far, the NFL?
Yeah, Reem, do your thing.
I would say I don't even know if I have a single person. You got maybe Wilson. Every year it's kind of hard to leave him out of the argument. Name somebody on Kansas City. You know, you can name a couple over there. I mean, there's tons of players, I think. So it's kind of hard for me to pick a single player. You even have like Rodgers has been balling. You got a ton of guys. So I don't know if I can necessarily narrow it down this early in the season. I guess it's mid-season now.
Right.
But who do you have, Theo?
Well, 2 weeks ago, I would say Russell Wilson. But the last 2 games, he's been kind of awful, including today. So if I would vote right now, I would go Mahomes. Mahomes has 1 interception. You know, into this week's game, he had 21 TDs, 1 interceptions, and Russ had 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, not including today's game, what they lost. In the last 2 games, he didn't play too well.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks ago, I would say Russ, but right now, I'm giving it to Pat. And Tom Brady's right there, right behind both of them. Honestly, Tom Brady.
It's funny you should say that, Theo, and I gotta agree because I had Tom Brady as like a dark horse candidate because he's always in the conversation. I think if Tampa wins like 11, 12, 13 games, he'll be right there. But I got a real sleeper one quietly that he's playing well, but people won't give him because it's a tough position to win at. I'm looking at Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams got the statistics that Randy Moss had at this time when Randy Moss had the monster year.
Right.
He's matching them for pace. I mean, of course, that's going to be a tough competition because if Adams gets those numbers, that means Rodgers is getting those numbers.
Right.
But Devontae Adams with him is a lot better than he's getting credit for. I mean, I don't know if you guys caught one of that debate this week with Devontae Adams and Julio Jones or who's the best receiver in the league, where Devontae Adams said he feels like he is, and Julio Jones said he feels like he's the best receiver.
If both guys are completely healthy, 100%, I'm taking Julio every day. And I love Devontae Adams. Devontae is nice. He could be a 1B or a number 2. But if both guys are completely healthy, I'm taking JJ. Not a question. Julio Jones.
I gotta agree with you on that one too.
Right now is Adams though. You know, Julio's hurt. Don't have the same numbers. Adams is balling out. So right now, you know, I'll give it to Adams. We're talking 100% healthy. I'm going Julio.
The crazy thing is, in regards to Tom Brady, is we were talking not too long ago about him being like a game manager. Here he is again, right? Every year you want to put that tag on him, that title, and then the guy just comes and does his job at the highest level. You know, every week it seems. So
he is the dink and dunk champion. I always call it that, but he's a great dink and dunk passer. That's what he is, man. It is what it is. Can't deny it.
His decision making, I think, is what really separates him from a lot of these guys.
Yes.
You don't see Tom Brady taking a bunch of sacks. You don't see him turning it over. Like it seems like he has a good internal counter when he knows when the pressure's coming from him with how long he's got. He gets rid of the ball. Plus, too, he's not afraid to spread it around. So he's one of those guys that, like right now, everybody was looking for Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to be superstars with him, but that ball is getting spread out. He doesn't care who's on the other end of it. The ball's getting spread around. So
yeah, he loves those guys running those little short crossing routes like that. Yeah. I wonder what Mahomes, going back to him, is he like reaching that level of almost like the LeBron James thing where you almost expect him to, so he's a little bit overlooked because of how good he is?
That's fair. I mean, the guy's exciting. He makes exciting plays. These guys be down 17 points, and then you know, you turn your channel, the game is tied, these guys are going up. And because these guys score quickly, and he's doing accurate passes on a run, 60 yards, accurately, to your chest. So that's fair to say for sure.
Yeah, I think he may be getting into that mode, of a guy that a lot of people overlook just because of how good he is. So I could see him throughout his career probably missing a few MVPs because of that.
I
Yeah,
can see
you're
that.
never really out of the game with Mahomes. We seen that even in the Super Bowl. You're not out of the game. If he's on the team, you in the game. So
Right.
it's
And
it's gonna get like it's kind of it'll be like what they call it, LeBron fatigue or something, or Mahomes. They even said Jordan fatigue, where you're so great that people start thinking it's easy, or or
right.
it's too much. You see it so often that you expect it, like you said, and it just turns into something where you'll find somebody that you like. Wait a minute, how did that guy win the MVP? I think that goes back to, just to put it in basketball phrases. I love Steve Nash, but I don't know how he won those two MVPs, beating out Kobe and stuff like that.
And
So
Shaq one year.
yeah,
Kobe, 1 year
exactly.
Shaq.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was one of those let's just spread it around kind of thing because those guys, like you said, are so great and been doing it for so long.
And plus, Pat Mahomes is entering. He's about to enter his prime too. I don't think he's not in his prime yet.
No.
Not in his prime right now. He's entering his prime pretty soon. Maybe next season you can say he's entering his prime. But as right now, man, he's on his way to be real great.
You know what's interesting about that? I was watching. You guys ever catch The Shop, the LeBron James thing that he got the show? And Pat Mahomes was saying something that it was mind-boggling. That he was like, this was the season from last year. He was like, yeah, I just learned how to read defenses this year. Yeah. He said, I'm still trying to pick up all the coverages. He was like, I was just going out there basically playing ball. Yeah, I'm looking around. I see who's open. I throw the ball to the guy that got nobody on him who open. But he's like, as far as reading defenses, he was like, I'm still learning that. He was like, because they asked him about calling the plays. He's like, Tom Brady, Rodgers, all the great guys call their own plays. He was like, nah, I'm good with not calling them yet. I'm not ready for that. He said that he brought up an instance in a game. He was like, somebody played zone on him the whole game, and they got to like within the 5-yard line, and Andy Reid called a play that was against man to man. He was like, he turned to Andy Reid, was like, why'd you do that? And then they ran the play, and sure enough, as soon as the team pulled up, they switched the man, and they got the touchdown. And he went back to Andy Reid, and Andy Reid said, I had seen them line up like this like 8 years ago. So he was like, now he realizes he's got to watch that film more and see these defenses. And he said, when I get to like Andy Reid or these offensive coordinator levels where I could dictate the plays out and stuff, then I'll be, where I think I should be. He's like, well, right now I'm not there.
He's learning to read defenses, and he's killing the NFL.
Yeah.
That's talent. That's God-given talent right there, man. Imagine if he could read defenses right now, he'd probably be even better.
Yeah.
Better stats, probably even more better. So basically, he's so nice. He just has a good awareness, I guess, to always find out receivers open. You can't read defenses, or I guess extend the play to find a guy who's open to make that pass.
Yeah.
So that's very scary right now, man. To hear that.
Yeah, we got a lot more years to see of Mahomes.
Yes, hopefully so.
So
you know what? I'm sitting here thinking in regards to the MVP conversation, a guy who probably should be in there. He's not even on the field. Is your boy Theo Dak, right? You look at him, he gets hurt, and look at the Cowboys. So before that, the guy was
killing. Yeah,
he was number one in every offensive category for a quarterback.
Yeah, he was killing.
Until he broke his ankle.
About MVPs, and I'm saying, he's not even on the field. Dak should be in that conversation in terms of what the guy meant to the team. And if I hate to use the term happy, right? Because obviously a guy's not happy to have a serious injury like that. But I'm sure deep down inside, he's probably a little bit happy in terms of, because now this is kind of proving his value in terms of going for that contract, right? Like if they would have went out there and still performed at a high level, then they may have questioned, hey, do we bring this guy back?
We could do it with anybody.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're right. We got hurt. They fell apart. Period.
Yeah,
On both
yeah,
sides of the ball, they fell apart because when he out there, he keep the defense rested. He extends plays, make good decisions. He's dangerous, man. So him being hurt for the year hurts the team drastically.
So yeah, if he can come back, hopefully he comes back. He's the same player or even better, and then he's a MVP caliber player, I would say too.
Yes.
Fortunately, it took this injury to prove it.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Before that, he was being a little overlooked too.
yeah, I think so. Hey,
Well, they're gonna franchise him. I know that.
yeah,
They're
he'll
gonna franchise
definitely
him
get
one more
that
time.
franchise. Yeah.
One more time, and that's it. They didn't get his
Hey,
money.
we talk about Dak. We had another former Cowboy come back on the active roster today. Des Bryant. Des Bryant returned to the league and Antonio Brown rather. I don't know how Brown did. I mean, Bryant then was saying Bryant didn't get on the field, didn't have a catch. But I know after the game, he was talking about how it was just the great feeling of being back out there after this long. I mean, for me, I'm just happy to see that he's back out there on
Right.
the field.
Yeah, I think he was falling into the category. I think he still has talent. I think he was falling into the category of being blackballed a little bit for various different reasons, it seems. But yeah, it's good to see him back out there. Antonio Brown I would say, it's good to see him back out there too. He's done some things that is questionable off the field, but it's good to see him on the field. So yeah, it's good times to see both of them back, I would say.
Yeah, Dez. I'm happy for Dez Bryant, him being a former Cowboy fan, Cowboy player, I should say. I'm sorry. Will be unfair for him to play right now, right away. He's not ready yet.
Yeah.
Maybe next week he'll be ready. Maybe get a few snaps, few plays. But as far as to let him play right now, I wouldn't let him play. But it's good that they allow him to suit up and put on that jersey and put on the equipment and get that feel and hear the tackle being played and everything else. So it's good on that part of the game. I'm happy for him. So hopefully next week he have few plays run for him, so he could really be happy and fulfill his dream being back on the field.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I mean, as far as Antonio Brown, I mean, we talking about a guy that he easily would be in the number one receiver conversation of all world talent. There's incredible ability. He just got to get his off field stuff straight. I believe that this is Antonio Brown's last shot.
Yeah.
That if he's on here and he does something that's questionable or something that doesn't work out, I mean, you playing with Tom Brady now.
Yeah.
Everybody on that Tampa Bay team, they bought in Fournette. They got Evans and Godwin. They got Gronk. All of these guys are kind of geared towards making the playoffs and trying to win a Super Bowl. So you can't say that you want a roster that's not trying to win with bad players. You got leaders, people who want to win. They looking for Super Bowls. So that excuse is out. So if he's not on his best behavior or something goes wrong, I could see this being the last chance for him.
Yeah, I would agree. Like you said, especially playing with Brady, you can't be out there with the off the field antics and stuff like that. Especially if you plan on sticking around beyond this, because right now he's playing for his next contract. So yeah, I would agree. If he gets out there and it's any extra antics and stuff like that, this will be his last time suiting up in the league, I think.
I mean, the man right now is living with Tom Brady right now. So this is definitely his last chance in the NFL to get any contract. You live with Tom Brady at his home. You guys on the road. You his roommate as well. So there's no excuse for Brown to not get his act together. So hopefully, you know what I'm saying, from a fan perspective, he does and show the world that he's still a good player.
Yeah, I hope so. So this week we got some good news from the NBA. The NBA season starting on December 22nd. I'm a little selfish and glad they started then because I love those Christmas games. I mean, how you guys feel the league's going to be starting December 22nd?
I think it's good for some teams, bad for others. One of the teams that is bad for, I would say, not even bad, but they'll be less rested is the Lakers, right? You already see LeBron James tweeting out. I think he'll have 77 days off before the start of the season or something like that. So I think certain teams that had long playoff runs, I could see them feeling a little effects of it. But on the flip side of that, you have teams like my Knicks, right, who's been out for almost a year, it seems like now. So you got to get these guys back on the court. I would say the teams that made the long playoff runs, they should probably go to, which I'm sure they will, go to like the load management route. But like you said, as a basketball fan, I love those Christmas games, so I'm excited to see them coming back. Plus, a big part of it was revenue too, right? Because I was hearing the January start date with a 50-game schedule, and they were saying that would have dramatically reduced their revenue, which is why Silver was pushing for the 70-game schedule. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing. Certain teams, like I said, maybe not so much, but overall, I'm excited.
Yeah, Reem's on point right now. I agree with everything he just said, man. I mean, as a sports fan, I'm happy that is back. I probably would have done myself January because a lot of the teams, like Portland, other guys who play 7-game series, and Denver Nuggets play 7-game series, could use some more rest. You know, give these guys 2 months off. I don't think it's sufficient for these guys' bodies wear and tear. These guys are human, by the way. End of the day, man, it's about that bag for the NBA. So I get it, you know. So like Kenyatta said too as well, man. I love Christmas games as well too. So but if it was me, I would do January right now. But the players voted on it, the players approved it, so I can't complain.
I mean, I gotta agree with both of you guys. Like, as far as, you know, in an ideal situation, I'll make it January, but again, the money loss and stuff. But the fun and the load management part. Now, here's the funny thing about it. I mean, all they got to do is work it out in the schedule. So if the Lakers play like the Cleveland Cavaliers, they don't have to use Braun. Or if the Clippers play the Pistons, Kawhi can sit that one out. So depending on what the schedule's like, I'm pretty much sure that if the Lakers schedule has the Cavaliers, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Detroit Pistons on 3 nights straight, you might see LeBron playing about 26 minutes between 3 games or so. So
yeah,
as long as, but you know what they'll do? They'll do this just to try to get us watching. On Christmas, you'll see the Lakers versus the Clippers or something like that, or some kind of mega game that would be better off, like at the, you know, in the midpoint or later on in the season. But for television value, they'll put that first.
Well, how about this? If LeBron is not going to play, they should notify the fans, because, you know, people like us who are hardworking fans, who have families, who have sons and daughters who like basketball, want to see LeBron James play. Here I am, you know, doing some overtime. The body's ticket costs a lot of money.
Yep.
In New York City, if you know LeBron's taking a rest, my son ain't trying to hear that. He's like, Dad, where's LeBron? You know, I'm like, yo, LeBron, man, I did two double shifts for my job to buy his tickets, man. Where you at, man? Better get your jersey, man. Get out of court, man. Let's go. You know, but LeBron ain't gonna play. Let the fans know ahead of time. Let the decide to still show up to the game.
You actually raised a good point in terms of, because I think they're looking to try to have around 25 to 50% max capacity in the stadium. So does the load management mean as much if there's very little fans in the seats?
I mean, I think if you pay for the ticket, you want to see the stars. So right. I get that, but I thought the NBA was trying to get people. Well, I think Popovich messed that up, because the NBA was trying to get guys to say in advance who was playing, and then Popovich was pulling all types of crazy stuff like probable to playing and stuff, and just not playing them, because they do want to know in advance, because they'll pull a game off of TV because of that. Right. So, you know, if LeBron's supposed to play, and then all of a sudden the Lakers decide they're gonna play the Knicks and they're not gonna play Davis and LeBron, why would you want to have that game on prime time or something?
Mm-hmm. Plus, from my understanding, with the 25 to 50% capacities, they're talking about basically opening up the expensive seats, like the suites and stuff like that. So those people, I hate to say it, those people who are buying the suites could probably afford to pay the money and not necessarily see LeBron James suit up if they're in those expensive suites. But for the average fan, yeah, if I'm paying my hard-earned money, I want to see the top players on the court.
Right.
Okay, well, speaking of return to the court, we get to see Kyrie and Kevin Durant return to the court this year. Something, I mean, they got a whole cast of players with them or something. You know, Karis LeVert and got to sign Joe Harris and stuff. But the Nets right now, we could say they have a big two, and they have Karis LeVert who could possibly be a three. We don't know that yet. I mean, if the Nets could or the Nets needed to, who could you guys see the Nets going out trying to get as a third person or something like that?
I think they're going to target Beal is what I would say. I could see them trying to swing a deal for, like you said, LeVert maybe in there, maybe even throwing in Jared Allen. I could even see them like really going for it and throwing Dinwiddie in there too. He's another guy who could be a third option, really. I think Dinwiddie's kind of underrated. But at the same time, the only thing I'd say is there's got to be a balance there, given KD is coming back from a major injury, so we don't know if he's going to be the same KD. We hope he is, but we don't know that for sure. And then Kyrie, he hasn't had like the major injuries, but he always seems to have these nagging injuries. So do you want to trade your depth for that third star? And then next thing you know, you get an unfortunate injury to Kyrie or whatever the case may be. Now you don't have that depth. And I think the Nets kind of sort of just went through that in terms of, I think when they had like D'Angelo Russell and those guys there, they were building something. And now to see them possibly diminish it, to add that third star, it's a risky move, I would say. But if they're going to do it, I could see Bradley Beal as probably being their top target. I don't see like a Giannis or anything like that going there. But yeah, I would say Bradley Beal is probably their top target if I had to guess.
I would say Paul George. I like Paul George. I mean, don't get it twisted. Paul George is nice. I know he had a bad season with the Lakers, but as far as the fit, Paul George, I think, is a more all-around better player than Bradley Beal. You can play defense. You can play the 1, 2, and the 3. You can put him at the point guard and let Kyrie play off the ball, which Kyrie likes to do sometimes too as well when they play with LeBron James. And I think Paul George has something to prove to the NBA and to the fans that, he gets to play this game. Because right now he's getting a bad rap. And I think he'll be a good fit. I think he'll be a better fit because he's more versatile than Beal. Beal is a straight two guard. I can't see Beal playing that point guard and give Kyrie a rest, so Kyrie's in foul trouble like that. But as a fit, I like Paul George because he plays defense as well, and he plays multiple positions as well. And I think he has a chip on the shoulder to prove people that he's still one of the best players in the league. And plus, I think you can give up less assets too to get Paul George, unlike Beal. Probably give up more to get Beal at this stage right now where they at.
I mean, for me, when I look at it, I mean, I would probably try to, if I could, because you never know. Like Kyrie and Kevin Durant have like these eccentric type attitudes or the way about going the game. So to try to like cut down on my risk or what I have to give up, I might try to go for a guy like DeMar DeRozan or Gordon Hayward because both of those guys are like on last year's of their deal. So at the trade deadline, let it play out to around the trade deadline, see how it works out with LeVert. If not, bring in one of those guys for a future draft pick or something. You might be able to keep Kyrie and give away less assets because, if you go out there and you go all in on Bradley Beal or Paul George, you got to remember if Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, Kyrie is Kyrie. Part of the reason Kyrie had an issue with LeBron is because he wanted to be the top dog. KD is going to be the top dog. And I don't know how Bradley Beal will feel about taking 12 shots a game. Paul George might be a little more amicable to doing that because he does other things, but Bill's gonna want to get his attempts. A guy like DeMar DeRozan at the end of a contract, Gordon Hayward knows in his situation that ain't gonna be a lot. And if they really want to think long term, I got a couple of like long term crazy solutions. Like you got guys out there that complement them well, like a Zach LaVine who can shoot really well, who doesn't need to have the ball in his hands too much to do stuff. Buddy Hield, but I think he might be another guy that complains about getting shot attempts. But I think where they really need to address, even outside of that third star, is that I mean, I don't know about DeAndre Jordan and Jared Allen as the only bigs or something. I mean, they gave up Brook Lopez before. I'm sure they wish they had him. Maybe you get a guy like Miles Turner or something. But I think where they lacking that, I think they're good with the the ones, twos, and threes. I mean, their roster's filled with guys. I mean, hopefully Crawford comes back. You got Temple, Garrett Temple, Justin Anderson, Tyler Johnson, Wilson Chandler. They got like a who's who of twos and threes, but they don't really have nobody to play the 4 and the 5 really. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out even before looking at a third star.
Ken, you just convinced me, man. I like your option better. I like the DeMar DeRozan, re-sign Joe Harris and get somebody else and strengthen and have a more versatile bench. I like that, man. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, to me, I don't think they need a third star. I mean, I look at it, I say, how much more help do these guys need? You got KD, who's arguably, assuming he comes back and he's KD, is arguably the best player in the league. If not, he's top 3 probably if he's the same KD. Same thing with Kyrie. I wouldn't say top 3, anything like that, but he's definitely one of the top players in the league, assuming he can stay on the court. So I think they need to probably, in my opinion, stand pat, and if anything, add to the bench depth, which I think they already have. Like you said, I think they have a ton of those 2s and 3s. Maybe they could give up a piece here and there for another big. One of the bigs I like on there who didn't really get too much playing time was, I think his name is Clayton.
Claxton, Nick Claxton.
Yeah, right? Claxton, yeah, there you go. I thought he played well in the minutes he got. So I think they got a lot of talent. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So I don't think they need that third star, to be honest with you. Plus, I look at a guy like Paul George, and on paper he fits the mold, like you said, because he's a two-way player, doesn't necessarily need the ball. But at the same time, I think Paul George he's going to be looking to try to go on a redemption tour next season. You can't go on a redemption tour as the third option, know. So that's the only thing with him, and the same thing with Bradley Beal. Because Bill's not looking to put up 12 shots. He's not going from becoming the face of a franchise when Wall went down to being the third option willingly. I don't see it, especially this early in his career. The guy is still relatively young. He's coming into his prime. So I don't think they need that third star. I just think they need to see what they have in the current team, and if anything, tinker around the trade deadline and add a piece here and there. I think the main thing with them is just, if they can, they don't have any control over it, but just try to stay healthy.
I mean, you know who I think would be interesting for them if they were willing to pay the money? It sounds crazy. A guy like Kevin Love. If you put Kevin Love next to Jared Allen, that would be a big difference out there. Kevin Love's gobbling up those rebounds and knocking down those threes from the power forward spot.
Yeah, that's
a lot of money. Yeah, that's a lot of money to add, though.
What about a guy like Harold?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he clogs the paint a little bit for what they're trying to do, right?
Rebounds, defends, yeah.
Yeah, but he does a bunch of that dirty work if they're looking for that type of player. So
yeah, that's what they need. They don't need no scoring. They can score. They can play defense. So I agree with you guys. What you guys names you guys are adding to the topic. I agree with you on that. I would go for somebody who can play the power forward position, just rebounds, physical, menacing. Those elbows here and there. They need no scoring. They got that. They got maybe some more size.
Then you think, like you mentioned, LeVert. Granted, he's not going to have too much of a choice, but to be a third or fourth option or whatever it is. But that he's a relatively young guy. I'm sure at some point he's going to want to get his shot to show. I don't know about being the number one option, but see what he could do out there. Same thing with Dinwiddie. When Kyrie is on the court, Dinwiddie's not playing as well. When Kyrie is out, Dinwiddie looks like an all-star. So how do you go and tell this guy, oh, we're only going to give you 15 minutes a night?
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at it. Listen, and one of the things that most concern me about that team is that I love Katie and Kyrie, but they got to learn to stop talking so much. I mean, recently, KD made some comment that Kyrie was better than Iverson. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Kyrie's ball handling, some of his skill sets might be better, but he's nowhere near with Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson was a number one option that drove a team that had minimal talent. I mean, he had Mutombo and Aaron McKee and guys like that, Geiger, to the championship. Kyrie could never do anything like that. But they keep making comments and talking. I mean, what do you guys think? They got need to do over there.
I think the comment that comment was a bit far fetched. Iverson MVP of the league, like you said, took a team of players you can't even probably remember, Eric Snow and these guys, Matt Geiger, right, to the championship. So I think that comment was definitely far fetched. But the comment I think that really raised an eyebrow for me is when they started mentioning the whole coaching thing with Steve Nash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, Nash isn't the coach, or like you said, these guys, I don't know. It's almost as if they have to like stroke each other's ego because they came together or something. It's a weird dynamic there, but yeah, I would agree. They definitely need to stop talking because the more they talk, I think the more other players are listening, and guys are going to be coming at them, I think. So you just giving people ammunition, I think, granted, they have the skill set when healthy to back it up, right? Nobody's arguing that. When KD is on the court and he's KD, he could talk as much trash as he wants, right? Who's going to stop him? Guys 7 feet, ball handling, can shoot outside, go inside, post game. Same thing with Kyrie, but I think just prove those things on the court now. Enough with the talking.
You guys mentioned what? Mutombo, Matt Geiger, Nazir Muhammad, Tyrone Hill, Eric Snow, Aaron McKee.
Yeah.
Do you think Kyrie could carry that team to the playoffs, to the Eastern Conference Finals, let alone to the finals?
No way. I don't.
No. How about winning a game against Kobe and Shaq in LA?
No way.
I don't see that either. Allen Iverson, I mean, I'm a Georgetown fan. I love my Warriors, man. But Iverson was special, man, and very underrated player too, as well. He could carry his team with his back. He's shown that most of his entire career. After practice, comes to the bar, he'll give you 40 points. Or hanging out with me and you and Kareem, hanging out, chilling, getting his drink on. You're still getting 40. Obviously, it was great, man. And if either was serious about his health or his body, he might could have won a championship or so,
Yeah.
But that being said, man, Kyrie is great. I love Kyrie. And for handling wise, I give it to Kyrie, man. But outside of that, man, Iverson was a beast. And like Kobe Bryant said himself, we all lucky that Iverson is not 6'5".
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a quote from Kobe Bryant. So Kobe knows basketball. Rest in peace to Kobe. Kobe knows his basketball, man. That's a quote.
Yeah. So we have another. We lost a few black coaches, but we gained a new one. The Rockets hired Steven Silas. I mean, he's got a ton of experience as an assistant, probably like 20 years, dating back to like when his father was with the Hornets when they were in New Orleans. He's been with Golden State, Charlotte, Cleveland, the Wizards. I mean, I'm good with him getting a shot with the Rockets or something. I mean, I think a lot of people wanted John Lucas, but to me, I think Russ and Harden needed some tough love, maybe a different voice, because I don't know if Lucas could have gave them that message that they needed as far as like it's nice to be the guy's friend, but they need to change the scenery and change the gameplay or something. How you guys feel about Steven Silas with the Rockets?
Like you said, I'm excited for him to see another black coach get in there. The guys put in the work to get the shot. The only thing I would say is I almost wonder if they're kind of setting him up to some degree to be the fall guy, right? Because you had the GM Morey get out of there, right? It's almost as if Morey realized that roster, he damaged that roster so much like almost beyond repair without them trading Harden or I don't know who they're going to get to take Russell and give back a ton of assets. But to see him get his shot and inherit a team like that is it's exciting, but it's almost unfortunate because now they're trapped with PJ Tucker at the center and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's exciting to see him again get that shot, but I think a lot of work still has to be done. I think that roster is going to have to be overhauled. They're going to have to get away from the small ball. You don't need a bunch of giants walking around a la my Knicks, right? Going out signing 4 or 5 power forwards. You don't need that. But you know, at the same time, you know, I think he's getting a shot, which is great. But I think they're gonna have to give him some help, and by help, I mean get him a roster to help him perform.
Yeah, I'm happy for him. You know, he was born into a basketball environment, basketball household with his dad. Been around the game from day one as a kid, so I'm quite sure he knows his basketball more than people think he does. In hindsight, the Rockets, I guess, regret trading Clint Capella. That was a terrible trade. Get rid of him.
Yeah.
In hindsight, because I'm quite sure if they had him with Russ and Harden, because the couple game was really close, man. They could have pulled it out, you know. But good for Silas, man. Young guys. He's 48 years old. Been around the league. He's well known, well liked. I saw a few tweets. He got hired with Dirk, Steve Nash, other players who know him. So they're very happy for him, and he's gonna show people that he could coach. So I'm good, happy for him, and hopefully, for his sake, he get a chance to turn the team around and put in his philosophy into the franchise. Take some time. It's gonna be a 1-year thing. So hopefully, he get the opportunity to input his philosophy into what he want to do.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Theo. Too. I mean, I think the biggest mistake that they had, and I mean, Daryl Morey really did leave them with crap, like you said, Kareem. That Clint Capella trade. I mean, you imagine if Silas came in and they still had Capella, you could build some kind of remnants of a normal system. But when you shred every big man on the roster and put PJ Tucker at the center, I mean, if I look at it, the only asset that they really have Tucker, I think, might even be like a restricted free agent or free agent. I mean, who can you trade? Eric Gordon? I mean, and hopefully they got some, and I don't even know if they got cap room to even pick up a big man. So they're pretty much strapped with they don't even have draft picks. Didn't they get most of those up in the Russell Westbrook deal?
Westbrook, they gave OKC a ton of their draft picks, I believe.
So they're kind of in a bad situation. I mean, they got to get creative. They probably gonna have to go over the cap, find some people that's willing to, take some contracts and do something, because I mean, they got to get some kind of big man on that roster to be able to play like a regular type of system. And I don't think they bought Silas in to run that small ball, cybermetric shoot threes all the time offense. But
they want to go more conventional.
Yeah, the defense. They played well. They played good defense when they had to, but you had a lot of mismatches and a lot of stuff. The Lakers, when you watched them play, the Lakers really took advantage of that. PJ Tucker on Anthony Davis. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The Lakers bigs in that series looked like you would thought that was the older White Howard on Orlando or something, the way he was killing those guys.
I might even went to Tyson Chandler at that point, right, to see what he could do.
Yeah.
Just to have a big body out there, which is why, like I said, going back to Silas, I'm excited that he's getting that opportunity, but I almost feel like unless they make some roster changes, he's being set up to fail from the beginning. Now here the guy gets a big break, and then he's getting it with this type of roster.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and like, if you are Houston, what do you do? What can you do to change this roster around? Do you consider, now that Morey's over there in Philly, right? Of course, the rumblings have already started of James Harden, right? He wants to bring him over there. Do you even consider that?
I mean, if I could get Ben Simmons and Jason Richardson, I would do that, because you got to figure the roster. The Rockets need a roster. They need they're not gonna take Westbrook And it doesn't seem like Ben Simmons necessarily plays the greatest of style with Embiid. And I would have to say, to be honest with you, looking at Embiid and looking at Simmons, Embiid to me is, if health aside, is probably one of the most dominant big men in the game easily. Like when he's on, he's really on, and it happens a lot. I mean, Simmons, we've seen games where people just step 4 feet back of him and let him shoot. I mean, some teams he could run around, but that never works in the playoffs. So if I was going to give one of those two guys up, I would try to do something. Maybe they'll take Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons. If they did that alone, think about it. Now you got Russ, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, or whatever. You got a roster change. And plus, you figure the money's close or something. You could do something with that. It's a little different roster, move the ball around a little bit.
And I'm sure you could get some picks out of it too if you're giving up Harden,
right.
For Harden, you might get a pick or something in there too. So it creates a lot of flexibility. And plus, I don't really see. I mean, Houston is a playoff team, but if you think about even a full season, a lot of those teams were nipping at their heels. I mean, Denver's going to get better. Utah's going to probably get better. All those teams, the Lakers will be better this year in a full season. The Clippers will be better in a full season because those guys won't be hurt. So realistically, I mean, I see the Rockets being on that 5 to 8 range or something, and that's not really like a championship contender with Harden. You could trade Harden to Philly, get Simmons and get Simmons, Tobias Harris, and a pick, and you can still be in that 5, 6, 7, 8 range. So, the only thing is now you got a full team and you're growing with. So, I mean, I don't really see the advantage of keeping Harden other than having a superstar player to put more fans with you. But as far as winning games, if you can get that type of return, you got to trade him because nobody's going to take Westbrook.
Plus, does that allow, by doing that too, does that allow Silas to come in now and implement his whatever system he wants? Because now he's almost hand strapped because you have to put the ball in James Harden in his hands to play ISO ball, right? So that limits what you can do in terms of your system. The system is going to have to revolve around Harden dribbling. So if you, like you said, if you move him, you don't want to because the guy's a generational talent. One of the top players in the league, but if you do that, you open it up now for Silas to come in and maybe implement that new system.
I wonder how Philly feels seeing Jimmy Butler in the finals.
Yeah.
How about that?
That might be a motivating thing. Yeah.
Yeah, they should have kept Jimmy Butler. Butler was just a tough ball player, want to win, and he's a mentally strong player, and they're not used to that on our roster. And B's not I guess, a tough guy, so to speak, as far as mentally. Neither is Ben Simmons, But those guys should have kept Jimmy Butler. Maybe had a better season. But the Rockets, they're going to do an overhaul. They're going to scrap that D'Antoni offense real quick because it's shown that isolation ain't going to happen. It'll happen in our own neighborhood, so that's going to happen in the NBA court either. So. This Silas input we want to do. He wants to sign somebody else, go for it, try to sign his guys. But I can see them having maybe a tough season. They're trying to change the offense system. But other than that, man, I mean, I don't expect too much from Houston this year, and not at all. I think Gordon's kind of old. He's in the back end of his career. Gordon. PJ Tucker's cool. He's playing out of position. He don't escape too much offensively. He's more like a physical guy, like Marcus Morris. Physical guy, give you good, strong, quality fouls, so to speak. That's what they have. Besides Harden, Westbrook, he can't shoot no more. He can't shoot. So who do they have? They have no size. Who do they have? So I see them not having a tough season coming up.
Now, the craziest thing about this, we just talked about how this D'Antoni system is they're moving away from it. And as we say that, the Nets go out and hire D'Antoni and Amare Stoudemire and basically try to create the Phoenix Suns East. I mean, I can respect D'Antoni for his offensive coaching. I mean, and thankfully for the Nets, they didn't do something crazy like hire him as the head coach. I mean, he's pretty good with the offense, the ball moves with the X's and O's. But I mean, what is Amari going to do there? He's going to be like the teach young kids professionalism. I mean, Amari was like, well, what? I
Hey,
mean,
listen,
it's like hiring your buddies
kid,
or something.
man. Listen, you sound like, man, you need to go on YouTube after the show, man, and type in those Amari Sons highlights, man. Amari could
No.
shoot. He have footwork. Now, defense, he can't talk on defense. That's for sure. But as far as teaching you footwork and how to get open when you jump shot, and he teach you footwork for sure, man, and get a feel for a guy, how he's doing you, how you can get him off you, how to take him, if he's going you this way, if he's going you that way, so to speak. But on offense, he be a good teacher. Defensively, he can't teach you nothing.
I think he could do. I mean, I think you're right. I think he could teach them something offensively, but he would have to remember too. He was like a incredible athlete. I look at the Nets roster, and there's nobody that could do what Amari could do.
Right. Well said.
We just sat here and we said the Nets didn't really have bigs, so it's nice to bring them in. I'm a huge Stat fan, being a Knicks fan, but you bring in Stat, which is exciting, I think. But who's he teaching?
Nick Claxton,
right? Yeah, exactly. What bigs do they have? Who's he teaching?
Nick Claxton. That's the only one.
They have to bring in, a couple of, at least, a few young bigs for him to teach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I agree with you. I agree.
I think they're good compliments, though. Like you said, Theo, about how he's good with the offensive too. I think that that's part of the reason probably why Jock Vaughn is like the lead assistant or something, because he's probably the defensive guy. I think the Nets did a real good job in the bubble on defense, so they need somebody to work like opposite D'Antoni and Amare and even Nash, because Nash wasn't no defensive stopper either.
Right.
Too, I'd say with another thing that Stat probably brings is I think Stat always had like a good mindset. The guy was like, I never really seen him backing down from anybody, so I think he'll bring that. I think Kyrie and Durant already have that, being veterans, but some of those younger guys, Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert, I think Stat may be able to help them with that mindset in terms of how to approach the game. But then you look at D'Antoni, it goes back to the Kyrie Irving comment before about the head coach, right? You can bring whatever you want. These guys don't respect them. What good is it? Mm-hmm. So to hear who's supposed to be the leaders of your team saying they don't feel like they really even have a coach, you bring in D'Antoni, are they going to listen to anything he has to say? Are they going to listen to Stat on the bench during the timeout? Is KD paying attention to Stat as he's trying to say something?
Valid point, man. Valid point.
I mean, the craziestness is we remember we can't forget D'Antoni from the Knicks. I mean, he's good for alienating players too, where players like, I don't even want to mess with this guy. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. He might be the first assistant coach fired mid-season if he alienates KD and Kyrie Irving. They ain't going nowhere. The minute he gets out there and starts thinking that he's talking to Stephon Marbury, he'll be off the team.
Going back to like D'Antoni's Phoenix days in regards to that, didn't one of the players throw like a towel in his face or something?
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Stat. Who was it?
Nah, you talk about Ori and Danny Ainge.
No, this guy. I think Sean Murray. Somebody threw. I know somebody threw a
towel. So he already. He's kind of questionable in terms of, like you said, players respecting him and stuff like that. I don't think he really had that problem, at least in the forefront in Houston. But I think it's going to be interesting bringing those guys in. On paper, it looks good to get Steve Nash. He doesn't have too much experience in terms of being a head coach, but the guy was a leader on the court. So I think he was a head coach on the court for his entire career. D'Antoni, we just spoke on him. He has tons of experience, implemented crazy offensive system, right? Mm-hmm. That a lot of teams are patenting their offense around these days, space and pace and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. It's just a matter of whether these guys buy in, especially their stars, KD and Kyrie.
Agree.
Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about, I've been hearing about, is this possible Drew Holiday trade. I mean, I think Drew showed a lot in that bubble or something. But my only thing that I would think about is maybe it's better for New Orleans to trade him for just for a couple of basic reasons. Not because he's not talented enough or anything like that. He's on a different timeline than their players. What I mean by that is their players are 25 and 26 and younger, and Drew is 30. So by the time they actually get to a point, which I'm thinking is maybe 3 or 4 years to compete for a championship, he might be on the other side of it. Right now, I think he's probably at one of his highest value points. Yeah. And I think they could probably get like a good draft pick and maybe something else for him at this time that that could help them out. So I mean, what do you guys think about Drew Holiday being traded?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. I think if he is traded, it has nothing to do with his skill. The guy is definitely he could play. He's one of the top defensive guards. His offense is pretty good. He's able to break the defense down, get into the paint, create for himself. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it goes back to exactly what you just said in regards to the timeline. You have Brandon Ingram, right, who's coming into his own. He's in his mid-20s, I believe. You're going to have to offer him the max to keep him around. Then you have Zion there now. You have Lonzo. They got a pretty young team. And granted, he's not old. I believe he's Holiday, maybe around 30 or so.
Yeah.
So his timeline just doesn't match, though. It's not like he's old and on his way out. I think he still has a lot left, which is why I could see a team like I don't know what they would offer for him, but I could see a team like, let's say, Milwaukee, right, chasing him. He'll be good for a team that's in that win now mode. And I don't think the Pelicans are there yet. They still have a couple of years before they reach that we're ready to win. He'll take a couple of strides and stuff, but I think you're better off probably trading Holiday now while you can get something for him before he reaches that other side and his value is diminished.
Yeah, Drew is the truth. He could ball. Drew is probably the best defensive point guard in the league. He's tough defensively and offensively. He could score as well. What team fits him? Brooklyn is one of them, that's for sure. Lakers is another team for sure. I could see that. Maybe Miami, Drew the point guard with Jimmy Buckets and Bam and a hero. That's a good look. Tough. Yeah, that'll be tough. But if I'm Pelicans, I need draft picks too as well. I wouldn't mind taking a nice savvy veteran. Because you don't have a team that's too young, too green like that, So maybe like a Julius Randle, just to throw out a name, he'll be a guy who's saying for locker room, who's a veteran, allow these guys to develop before they make their run and get some draft pick as well. So I think if they can add draft picks to the trade, I'll definitely go for it though. But no like 2 or 3 guys, maybe one old school veteran or I've been in the league for 8-10 years and get maybe 2 or 3 draft picks and go from there. But Drew's the truth, though.
Yeah, I like Drew too. I mean, you look at it. If they do lose Drew, the kid Frank Jackson looked like he was balling pretty well in the bubble, so he could move into the backup. And then Riddick goes back to being a starter. And like you said, in a trade scenario, you bring back like a veteran to be on that team. So probably try to find somebody that has some wins, that understands how to win. Somebody that might have won a championship or something like that.
Yes.
And you put them on that roster or something. That definitely will help because they might need that more than they actually need a player on the court because they got the talent and the drafting and timeline. They just need somebody to help them learn how to win.
Plus, another like a big part of it is the finances too. You have the Pelicans, who are a small organization. You're paying Drew a lot of money. We just mentioned Brandon Ingram. You're going to have to pay him, I would say, a max. I don't think you're going to be able to get away with paying him anything less. Looking further down the line, granted, he just finished his rookie season, but unless he has some unfortunate injury, you're going to have to pay Zion at some point. You're going to have to pay Lonzo if you keep him around. Lonzo's going to want decent money. So I think it's a smart business move too to get out of Drew's contract if you can and pick up some young assets, like you said, a veteran who's not too expensive to be a good locker room guy. So yeah, I think it comes down to like a business decision too,
Right.
not just a basketball decision. You look at
I agree.
You look at a team like the Miami Heat, going back to them. In order to pick up a guy like Drew Holiday, who would they have to give up, you think? Because I'm sure they're going to say, we want Hero. I don't know if Miami will go for that. Duncan Robinson's not enough, right? The guy couldn't trade Drew for Duncan Robinson. I don't know what Miami's picks look like. Their picks probably aren't the greatest because they're a pretty decent team.
Right.
The teams that could use Holiday don't really have a ton of assets to get him.
I mean, there's some funny scenarios. Like I heard that was him. The Pelicans in that original deal was high on Kuzma, so they could go get the rest of the Lakers because they already got Jason Hart too. They just trade him over there, bring him. And remember, I think Rondo's cemented in. I don't think they're gonna give up on Rondo again. I think Rondo is gonna be on the Lakers, but I can see them going back and probably trying to ask for Kuzma and maybe bringing in what's this guy? If they get rid of the guy from Golden State, the ex-center, what's his name? McGee. If you give them Kuzma and McGee in a pick, they get to re-sign Dwight Howard because I think McGee's minutes are pretty much done with Dwight Howard there too. So if they would take a deal like a McGee and a Kuzma and a pick, I could see them getting a deal like that done.
They would probably have to involve a third team to make the money match because I think Holiday's probably getting 20-something million at least.
Yeah, he is.
He was on a deal. Plus, the Lakers don't have available cap space to absorb a huge contract, so they may have to get a third team involved. Which is I could see maybe depending on what assets are thrown their way, I could see a team like my Knicks facilitator, right? If you throw some picks. We'll take a McGee and these other guys, some undesirable contracts just to facilitate it.
Yeah, I can hear that. I mean, I think even Miami would probably try to do it, but the guys they would need from Miami, like, I can see them trying to do it, but I don't think Miami would trade them, but you got to figure a guy like Udonis Haslem would have to be in the trade for one thing because they want some kind of veteran. They may even just cut him. But Miami doesn't really have a lot of veterans on the team. That's the only person with any type of experience on that. And then you probably would have to give up the point guard that was starting, not the young kid. Yeah, you probably would have to give up Dragic for a pick or something. So you looking at Dragic a pick, Dragic probably a couple of picks and Haslem or something like that. Dragic makes a decent amount of money, I think, maybe like 14, 15 million, I think. I think he's in that range. And Haslem, I think, is at the veteran minimum, like 2. So that might put you close if you gave up the draft pick and stuff. But
you look at Milwaukee, I'm sure would love him, but the only person I could see them throwing back to make the money work is Eric Bledsoe, which I don't see the Pelicans wanting to do because you might as well keep Drew Holiday, right? You want to get rid of some of his money and get a guy who matches your timeline if you can and some picks. Why would you take on Eric Bledsoe, right?
Yeah.
So that's the balancing act in regards to moving him is you want to move him, but the teams that could use him don't really necessarily have the assets. Whereas you look at the Knicks, right? He doesn't really fit the Knicks timeline either, but the Knicks have valuable assets. I would say that the Pelicans would be interested in taking off the Knicks' hands if they can. I just don't see that. Why would the Knicks, let's say, without a third team involved, why would they take him back considering he doesn't meet their timeline? Don't get me wrong. He comes to the Knicks. He's probably the best player on the team. But does Drew Holiday, you spend, unless you include assets to move him to the Knicks, does he get you over the hill or like into the playoffs if you're the Knicks in order to take that contract on?
I mean, I think some of those scenarios will play out more as dominoes start to fall. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. like if Toronto had the opportunity to move like Lowry to keep the other guy, then you see like a guy like Drew Holiday, because they couldn't take on a young guy to try to do it. Some of these teams, like the guys trying to win, they really could use Drew on the team now. Was like kind of like with like nobody thought that any team would take on Mike Conley's money, kind of the way Utah took his money on.
Right.
So
right.
if they think that they can get that type of bang for the buck right off the top, and it puts you in championship contention, teams will figure out a way.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good point. I agree.
So I think with him, again, man. I mean, I love talking to you guys about sports, man. I think we had another great show.
Oh yeah.
I mean, with all the stuff that we talked about today, man, I think we got another big week coming up. Next week, I guess we have another show coming up next Sunday. Where I got a guest coming on. He trains NBA players and college players, and he's a assistant high school coach. Used to play for Seton Hall. Used to work for the Nets, and he's going to talk with us about what he's doing and training players and stuff. And we're going to talk about our usual stuff and try to get a lot of draft talking, because the NBA draft is coming up on the 18th. So, Mark, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I have a lot of joys every week, man. I look forward to it, man. So can't wait.
Hey, thank you guys again, man. Listen, good night. Anybody else have anything?
Rest in peace to Joe Morgan, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks, man. Talk to you next week.